Welcome on into Storming the Field. Week 11 is here. It's almost like the NFL's version of rivalry week. We got big matchups, Chiefs Bills, Ravens Steelers, and Packers Bears. All of these have big implications for the playoff picture moving forward. I'm Ian Oliver. Sad to report my good friend, my partner in crime, and co-host Steve Bender, he is out sick today. I texted him and said he's sick of giving out mushy bets on this podcast. But no, poor dude has whatever's been going through the Fox Forecast Center. A bunch of us have gone down. So we wish Steve the best. You'll see him next week. But don't worry. Bender's best bets will be disclosed later on in the show. Do with them what you will. That's a disclaimer there. Let's get to today's guest, a rising star in the sports media world. She's worked with John Boy, Nickelodeon. She's got a brand partnership with Underdog Sports. Few of my buddies love Underdog. It's Lauren Russell, a.k.a. SheGotSports. Lauren, thanks for being with us today.
No, thank you for having me. I'm super pumped to be here.
All
Never
right.
done anything with weather.
Yes. Yeah, this is some weird marriage between weather and football, and we talk about it every week, once a week for a little while. I have to ask you first, full disclosure, I have a grand total of one TikTok video, career, and it was a spoof of like an 80s sitcom theme song for a TV show. That's where I'm at with TikTok. I'm not a big social media person, but I love it, especially in the sense where we always talk about how weather and sports, there's this kind of a unique relationship, but it's the same story with social media. Sports, when you watch them live, it's this shared experience, and that happens both in a home, in a bar, wherever you're watching the game, but also online. And you've got this all figured out. Your page has been exploding. You got the YouTube shorts, you got long form, and you do the lives. What's that like as you're watching a game and you've got a bunch of folks watching along with you in the digital sense?
I would say the best part of that is just being able to go back and look at those moments, like later down the line, because you don't realize you're about to capture your reaction to possibly a historic moment, and being able to go relive those moments is awesome. And then obviously just being able to experience those moments with the chat and people live, and realizing you all just saw this crazy thing happen together, and now we kind of have our reactions.
Yeah. And you said
forever.
You said moments there, and I feel like that's what it's all about. Moments in the sports world that we enjoy, moments on social media where everybody gets to share that experience together again and kind of talk about that. What made you get into this? At what point were you like, this is what I have to do? I can build this out. I can make a living doing this.
I think growing up, I always wanted to be in sports somehow. Of course, as a kid, I feel like many of us, I wanted to be an athlete, but the big problem there was I didn't even know what sport I wanted to be an athlete in. I was just like, yeah, I want to be a pro athlete. So obviously that wasn't going to work out. So my mom was actually the one that suggested, like, oh, sports broadcasting is a thing you could do if you want to be in the sports world and not being an athlete. And I was like, sure. So since I was in high school, I've kind of been like, all right, I want to go to sports broadcasting for college, blah, blah, blah. And when I was in my final year of high school is when I actually started recording videos that are no longer up. They are no longer up. I don't really know what I was trying to do. Yeah. I was trying to make some sports news videos online, maybe like ESPN, like Anchor Desk. I don't know what I was doing. Those are not public anymore, but I kind of stuck with it in college. I went to Fordham, and they have a great broadcasting program there. And while I got some good experience on the radio broadcasting side, I knew I always wanted to do something with social media and digital media. Nice. And just as I went through college and got older, and when the pandemic hit, like, I kind of changed everything for online stuff, and school went virtual, and I was focusing more on this. And then I was at home and I was like, well, if there's any time to go all in on this, it's now when I've had some money saved living at home on my parents' health insurance
Yeah.
and they'll,
Yep.
they'll feed me meals.
Well, that's opportunity. Shout out the Rams too. A buddy of mine was class president at Fordham
Oh wow.
way back in the day. But you're speaking my language. As a broadcaster too, I'm a washed-up Division III soccer player. It's that's long
Where
in the
did you
rear
play
view.
soccer?
Lyndon State College in Vermont. Now
Okay,
Vermont
all
State
right.
University. So it just goes to show you that I always say I was a sports person trapped in a weather guy's body. Uh, and here we are. That love just comes through when we're working in a bunch of different formats. But when we talk about weather in the game, I think all of a sudden people who bet on football and people who play fantasy football have to become, in a sense, amateur meteorologists because these types of things play into the decisions that get made that either make you money or win you fantasy football matchups. How much does that come into things when you're I know you do a lot of content that's related to fantasy football. You do the live streams. How much is weather discussed at all? Have you had any moments on stream where a weather made something crazy happen?
This is so funny because I just had a moment where I was like, why don't I look at the weather before these games? Like, why don't I look at the weather if I'm doing a pick'em entry on something or on a pick'em entry or something on Underdog, and I'm going for the higher on the passing yards, and I'm
Yep.
just like, yeah, he's had a good past few games. I think he's definitely gonna get the higher. And then I turn it on, and they're like, yes, it's very windy and
It's
very
blowing
rainy.
40
Oh
miles
my
an
god, why
hour.
didn't I
Yeah.
just look? Why didn't I check the weather? It's so crucial when making these quarterback picks, but weather is something I definitely need to start checking before the game.
Yes. Yeah. And I wonder for folks that are going through exactly what you said. I remember it was a few years back. Mac Jones was still a Patriot. They went to Buffalo, and Mac Jones threw the ball, I think, like 4 times in the whole game.
Yeah.
So hammer the under and whatever that was. But yeah, we talk about that every week on how tied these two things are together. What are your thoughts on this season so far? I mean, it's already week 11. Anything that has really surprised you about what's going on so far?
I think one of the most bizarre things has to be the Chiefs being undefeated, but
Ugly,
Mahomes
ugly undefeated.
playing some of his worst football
Yes.
and them having so many injuries on offense and somehow being the best team record wise in football because you're like, well, they're playing really bad and they're
Yes.
winning a lot of one score games, but also they're playing really bad. So eventually they're going to play good because they're the Chiefs. Like Mahomes is not going to be bad forever.
Are they the
So it's
best
such a
team in the
bizarre
AFC?
situation.
I don't know. Like, are they that they've won so ugly, but to your point, they keep winning. But are they better? Are they better than Buffalo? Are they better than Baltimore?
That's what we'll find out this weekend, at least with the Bills. I think I
Yeah.
saw something online where if all the one score games had their score reversed, the Chiefs would have like 1 or 2 wins or something.
Wow.
It was something like that. It was like it was like the what if standings, and it was like, wow. But I mean, that's why they say you got to be able to close out games.
So before we move on to look at some of the matchups here, we'll get into some of the forecasts that we have for this week coming up. I did want to ask you, it seems like you're kind of a historian of the game. You have a lot of your content where you're looking back on things that have happened and some of the transitions with players coming out of college and into the NFL. As you put together content like this, has there anything that you've come across as far as like a classic weather game? I mean, there have been so many instances, even in the last couple of seasons, like the one that I mentioned, or with Buffalo, or almost to lake effect snow season. Is there something that you remember, or is there a favorite type of game in nasty weather conditions that would be your favorite?
Well, just for favorite, me and my dad always root for snow games. Like we love to watch a
Yes.
snow game. I feel like they're becoming more rare. I feel like I haven't seen a snow game in a while, at least here in New York. Like we don't really get
It doesn't snow
snow
here
games
anymore. It hasn't
here.
snowed in like
Yeah.
2 years.
Yeah. Doesn't really snow. We love watching a snow game. We always say that. Like snow game in the fireplace, just that's some peak football watching right there. But speaking of the snow games, one of my favorite games I've come across when doing research, it was of one of my Le'Veon Bell videos. One game the Steelers had in Buffalo, very, very snowy game. And just looking at the footage from that game, I was like, I can't believe they played in this. I forget how many years ago it was. It was probably like 2015 around there, I want to say, but just so much snow on the field. I have not seen a game that snowy
Man,
in
shout
person or on live TV in a very long time.
yes. Yeah, shout out to Le'Veon Bell. They had to change. I'm in like a. It's been going on for like 18 years now. It's all the dudes I grew up with back in my hometown, and it's a keeper league, and we do the auction salary. So I had drafted out of college Julio and Le'Veon, and I had them both for a
Oh,
dollar out of 200, and I had them on my team for like 6 or 7 seasons straight, and I won 3 titles. They
yeah, I
changed
was
the
gonna say
rule.
you must have been set.
Yeah, and then for some reason I haven't had the same success since then.
Oh,
Since I lost to Julio and Le'Veon. So yeah, I mean stuff like that. Typically in the sloppy games like that earlier in the season, we spoke with Melvin Gordon, and he said he loved playing in sloppy weather. I'll never forget the quote. He said, "I know where I'm going. They don't." So I mean, it's not always a forcing toward a lack of scoring.
yeah. I think it's got to be even harder to tackle. I would imagine if you're a
Yeah.
defender and it's rainy and slippery, and now this guy's jersey's all wet and your cleats are all wet,
Yeah.
and now you got to tackle this guy who's running like almost 20 miles per hour.
So let's get into week 11. Again, somehow week 11 already, somehow. Lauren, we do this thing called ROE on Fox Weather. It's risk of weather impact. And depending on how the weather factors are going to impact the game, we do have criteria related to precipitation and temperature and wind. We don't have a game this week that's up into the medium category, but the closest one to that, and it's kind of fringy, and it was the same story last week when my Patriots took care of the Bears, much to my buddy's chagrin. We've got the Packers taking on the Bears. This is at Soldier Field. It's a 1:00 kickoff Eastern time. It's close to the medium because we've got this wind that's just shy of 20 miles per hour, which is more or less the threshold. It's enough that it could have an impact on the game. Packers, Bears. Bears had their moment, it felt like, but they've been struggling lately. What do you think about this game?
I think if it's going to be windy, run game, right? I mean, Josh Jacobs, he's had some really good moments this year.
He's been
I
cooking.
think if the Packers just feed him the ball, and then I mean, Jordan Love has a strong arm. I
You're
mean,
right.
so does
No.
Caleb Williams, but
Mhm.
I don't think Jordan Love's going to have that difficult of a time throwing in winds. What is it? Just 20 miles per hour consistently? Is that like really windy?
It'll be
What's
it'll be gusting up to 20. So I think these
gusting up to
sustained winds
20?
will be something around. It's northwest edge of that big old area of high pressure, which has been just around for the last several weeks. It's the reason you're here in New York. It hasn't rained. It rained once Sunday night. That was the only time it's rained in a month and a half. So
Yeah.
that's that. What do you like for the pick on that game?
I feel like definitely Josh Jacobs rushing yards. I think you got to go with him. He's had some good moments this year.
Yeah.
And if they get a big lead versus the Bears, then they're just going to be running the ball, I would assume. It depends how big that lead gets. If Caleb Williams is still getting sacked a million
Constantly.
times,
Yeah.
you know?
I think it was like 8 or 9 times last week, something crazy.
Yeah, he's and even when he's just under so much pressure, I read that his accuracy is just really gone downhill because of how much pressure he's under trying to improvise and just not having the time he did in college when he was
Right.
so good getting outside the pocket, and now the defenders are just so much better in
Yeah.
the NFL than, the Pac-12 or whatever it is now. Whatever the division they're in
Right?
now.
The
They're not
artist
Pac-12
formerly known
anymore.
as the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had their little run in that would have, I'll call it the middle of the season, would have been 5, 6, 7, 8 the weeks in the middle there, where they were really starting to settle in, but they are all out of sorts all of a sudden related to the O-line, I think, like you said. We've also, over on the West Coast, we got the Seahawks taking on the Niners. That's in the low category. Levi Stadium, Santa Clara, mid-60s. There is an upper low that moves into up into the Northwest. It's been active. They had a back-to-back atmospheric rivers. There's some rain, but it should be north of the Bay. CMC is back. He looked pretty good last week. What do you think about that game? That should be an interesting one.
I feel like Brock Purdy is having a really underrated year.
He's an underrated guy, I think.
He's had solid years every year he's played, but I feel like we're not talking enough about how good he's been this year, especially without CMC. And now they get him back. George Kittle's pretty decent year too. He's had some good moments. I feel like he's really leaned on him in CMC's absence. But I mean, they don't have Ayuk. I think Kittle again is gonna
That's the guy.
probably have a big game. I think I like Kittle. I think I like Purdy passing yards.
I don't hate that. I don't hate that at all. I tried to make a late season acquisition of CMC in my league. It's not happening because I think for people that wrote it out all this time, they want to reap some benefits if they made it to the playoffs somehow after spending whatever they spent on the draft and not having any value until week 10. Let's get to. We talked about winning ugly. It's the Chiefs. The Chiefs have to go to Orchard Park to play the Bills. Temperatures will be in the mid-50s. The winds will be shifting west off to the west-northwest. They're only sustained at like 10 miles an hour. They might start to pick up a bit toward the end of the game. There's the outside chance that we could see a rain shower try to move in off the lake too. I don't think it's enough for two guys in Josh Allen or Pat Mahomes that this is something that will necessarily be talked about or focused on. But is this the week? Is this the week that the ugly winning stops?
I don't know. I mean, this is. I think the Bills are the team that could do it because if you look at their schedule, if the Bills don't do it,
Who does it?
like I don't know who is. I mean, the Broncos almost did it last week, but if the Bills don't do it this week, I don't know who is. And the Bills have some injuries too, so it's very. It's gonna be. I'm just excited for the game. I'm just excited for the game. But I think Josh Allen might be able to do it.
I think so. I think it's the
He's just
Bill.
been so good this year.
I think the Bills are a better football team, and it seems like I'm a hater because I'm a Pats fan. But like I said, I've seen what I've seen. It should have been that blocked punt last week for the Chiefs was insane. That's tough for Bo Nix.
Yeah, I mean, the Broncos came so close to snapping that. I forget what the Chiefs' streak is
You,
of beating the Broncos. It's something high up there, but
you want to talk
they're
about
so they're
moments?
literally inches away.
Were you on stream for that blocked
No, I
kick?
wasn't.
No. Yeah. That was outrageous. All right, we got to do the best of the rest. It's the rest of this Week 11 NFL forecast. We talked about Packers Bears, Minnesota in the Music City to take on the Titans. That game's at 1:00. Temperature is 70. You've got some sunshine. Raiders head down to Miami. Attempts at 80 degrees. What about this one? The Rams traveling all the way across the country, back home to New England. 62 degrees at Foxborough. That game's at 1:00. That could be an interesting one. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that NFC West, it's just so up in the air right now. Even though the Rams had a pretty ugly performance on primetime last week,
Yeah.
I, I think they're still very much in the race. Obviously, there were all those rumors about them possibly trading like Cup and Stafford possibly at the deadline. Never happened. They're still in the playoff race. That could be good. I mean, the Patriots have surprised people this year.
Yeah, the Matriots. That's a whole
I'm
different
a
team with Drake May.
I'm a salty Giants fan because I wanted them to draft Drake May.
Yeah, and maybe keep Saquon, who scored 15 touchdowns last night.
It's a good thing the Giants are on a bye this week. It's
Yes.
good for my
Yeah,
good for my
everyone can kind of just take some deep breaths.
sanity.
And
Yeah.
so you're a Gigantes fan. The next game on the list here was the Colts traveling to MetLife. It'll be decorated in green this week. 65 degrees. It's 1:00 kickoff. They have to win that game, right? The Jets?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we say that every single week. I feel like we've been saying this I feel like everyone's been saying this since week 3. They gotta win this game. They gotta
Yes.
win this game. And it
They
just
don't.
feels so over for the Jets. It just feels so over. It feels so over. But the Colts bringing back Anthony Richardson to start. I don't know. A lot of quarterback turnover there. A lot of quarterback
It's a little
drama
tumultuous. Yeah.
in Indianapolis. So is he gonna come out and have like a revenge game? You know, like you guys should have never benched me. Is it gonna be one of those performances?
Yeah, right. Shout out Cool Joe. He's gonna be watching again. But what a story that was last year, and a cool dude. I mean, Roger said he wants to come back next year. Do you think that's gonna be in a Jets uniform?
I feel like they gotta. I feel like they gotta give him one more chance, right? You can't be one and done.
Yeah.
Last season, obviously, he didn't play. You can't be one and done with Rodgers, right? I
If
mean,
he
the Jets
wants,
have been
yeah,
looking so long for a quarterback. You're just gonna be one. I feel like it would be such a Jets thing if they were one and done with Rodgers, and then he went to a team like the Colts, and they went on a deep playoff run. Like
that'd be
I
gross.
just feel
Yeah,
like
that'd be
that would be a
gross.
Jets thing. So I feel like they
Yeah.
can. You have to do one more year. I don't
Yeah.
know what they're gonna do with the coaching staff, who's gonna be the next head coach, but I feel like so much is up in the air with the Jets. And apparently now, like they're having locker room issues too, or stuff on social media with players calling out fans. I think I saw something.
It's
Jets
messy.
fans are kind of like, oh, this team is a mess, but
Yeah.
who knows?
Yuck. All right. Last go around. Ravens, Steelers. The whole let Russ cook movement has been working in Pittsburgh, but I
Yeah.
think Baltimore is the best team in the AFC.
I agree. No, Lamar is just playing out of his mind again. I think it's going to be him or Allen for the MVP. You gotta go with the Ravens there. And the thing that's so crazy is the Ravens defense really, especially their secondary, like really isn't that good. Like that's how good Lamar's playing. Like he's kind of just bailing out the defense at times.
Right. And then you're watching to see if Lamar is going to run, and then you've got a refrigerator and Derrick Henry that runs a 4-3 or whatever,
Yeah.
and you have to make that business decision. So fourth quarter, second half of those games, they got a really good thing going. I promised Bender's best bets. Lauren, he got off to a rough start. Then he decided to kind of go back to basics. He's just been doing money line picks. He likes the Packers this week over the Bears. He likes the Vikings over the Titans. He likes the Bills over KC. Any objections?
No, I mean, I agree with all that so far.
I like where he's at with
The
that.
Bills are obviously I think the biggest toss up there.
Yeah, for sure. That's the biggest question mark. But, I mean, you could probably get some value. It's got to be close to a pick 'em. I didn't even see what that line was. Mine, I call it Ollie's over-under. And I've done what I call the over fiesta twice. And both over fiestas went undefeated. So I'm going to over fiesta 3.0. Commanders, Eagles. Well, actually, that I picked the Thursday night game, and did Saquon get me there?
I think that might have been. Oh, yeah, that was like the last second. What happened there?
Yeah, that touchdown counted. I think that got me. Did that get me there for the over? I'm looking right now. The over fiesta could be over before it started. 30. It is cooked. Yuck. I had Texans Cowboys because that was so gross last game. Nico Collins is back for Texans. I think they're going to score some points, and the Lions have been scoring at will. So for all my shade to Steve, that's where we're at with that. Ollie's over under. GG's to that particular one. Lauren, so cool to chat with you today. Again, it's a solo mission without my guy Steve Bender. He'll be back next week. It's Lauren Russell, aka SheGotSports. You're crushing it. Wishing you continued success. Come hang out with us sometime on Fox Weather. We'll talk more football.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you.
Remember, you can listen to Storming the Field every Friday during football season, wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Plus, get the latest on the big game forecast and weather news by watching Fox Weather on your favorite TV device. You can find us on social at Ian Oliver WX and at Weatherbender. We'll see you next time right here on Storming the Field.